The letter from the HOA was cold, impersonal, and a total contradiction to the warm, festive wreath on my front door. It said, in no uncertain terms, that my Thanksgiving decoration was a violation. I had 24 hours to take it down or face a $100 fine that would double every single day. Look, I'm a veteran. I've stared down threats far more serious than a piece of paper from a neighborhood committee. But this felt different. This was personal. It was an attack on my home, and on a small piece of joy my wife and I were trying to build. They thought they were dealing with the quiet new guy they could just push around. They had no idea they were about to pick a fight with the county sheriff, who just so happens to be my wife. After 20 years in the military, all my wife Sarah and I wanted was a quiet life. We'd finally found our forever home in a peaceful suburb, ready to put down roots. As our first November in the new house rolled around, Sarah found a beautiful Thanksgiving wreath. It was simple. Autumn leaves, a few small gourds, and a little sign that read, "Give thanks." For us, after years of moving from base to base, that wreath was a symbol that we were finally, truly home. I hung it on the door, proud to kick off our very first holiday season in our new house. For a week, life was perfect. We had no idea our neighborhood was under the constant surveillance of the Homeowners Association and its tyrannical president, a woman named Brenda. A sharp, impatient knock rattled our front door. On my porch stood a woman clutching a clipboard, her face pinched with disapproval. This was Brenda. Without so much as a hello, she shoved an envelope into my hand. "You'll want to read this," she said, her voice dripping with condescension. "The board is very serious about community standards." I tore it open. It was a formal notice of violation. The crime: display of seasonal decorations outside of the approved time frame. I glanced at my Thanksgiving wreath, then back at her. "It's for Thanksgiving." She scoffed. According to Section 4, Paragraph C of the bylaws, seasonal decorations are only permitted from December 1st through January 15th. She was twisting a vague rule about the winter holiday season to outlaw Thanksgiving itself. The notice threatened a $100 fine if the wreath wasn't gone in 24 hours, plus another $50 for every single day after. I tried to reason with her, but she cut me off. "The rules are the rules," she snapped, tapping her pen on the clipboard for emphasis. "We can't have the neighborhood looking cluttered. It lowers property values." And with that, she spun on her heel and marched away. I stood there, holding the notice, that old, familiar anger starting to boil just under the surface. This wasn't about rules. This was a pure and simple power trip. When Sarah got home that night, she found me stewing in the kitchen, the violation notice on the counter between us. I told her everything: Brenda's condescending tone, the clipboard, the smug little speech about property values. At first, Sarah was just furious. She has zero patience for bullies who twist rules into weapons. But as I described the aggressive 24-hour deadline and the escalating fines, I saw a change come over her. The hot anger cooled into something hard, focused, and professional. It's a look I know well, the look of the elected county sheriff, Sarah Thompson. For her, this was no longer a petty squabble. This was a textbook abuse of authority. "Don't you dare take it down, Mark," she said, her voice low and steady. She explained that Brenda hadn't just been rude. She'd broken the HOA's own rules. HOAs can't just invent fines and arbitrary deadlines. They have to provide written warnings, a reasonable time to fix the issue, and the right to a formal hearing. Brenda's 24-hour demand was an illegal power play. "So from now on," she instructed, her focus absolute, "we go dark. All communication goes through email or certified mail. We need a paper trail. Don't talk to her. Don't answer the door. We document everything." She wasn't pulling rank as the sheriff. She was just being my wife, a wife who happens to be an expert at dismantling bullies, one rule at a time. Following Sarah's plan, I sent a polite but firm email to the HOA board. I formally disputed the violation and requested a hearing, all by the book. No mention of Sarah, no mention of her job. My email was met with a wall of silence. The only reply came 2 days later, not as an email, but as another notice taped aggressively to our front door. The fine had doubled to $200. Brenda was sending a message. But then, it took a much darker turn. Our security cameras caught her, a shadowy figure, pacing slowly on the public sidewalk, stopping only to raise her phone and take pictures of our home. This was no longer about a wreath. This felt like being stalked. When I showed Sarah the footage, her face turned to stone. "Okay, she just declared war," she said, her voice cold as steel. "An HOA dispute is a civil matter. What she's doing, coming onto our property, surveilling you, that's harassment, and it's illegal." We weren't going to use our power, we were going to use the law. Through the exact same public channels any citizen would use. We filed a formal harassment complaint with the local police department. Then we sent one final, certified letter to the entire HOA board, notifying them that a police complaint was now active against their president. The response was almost immediate. An email blast went out to the entire neighborhood. An emergency HOA meeting was being held. My violation was the first and only item on the agenda. Brenda was done with threats and letters. She was ready to humiliate me in front of all of my neighbors, and she had no idea what was coming for her. The community clubhouse was buzzing, the air electric. Brenda sat at the head of a long table, a smug queen holding court. She banged a gavel. "We are here," she announced, her voice echoing slightly, to address the noncompliance of the resident at 123 Maple Lane. She motioned to an empty chair set up in front of the table. My public shaming. Mr. Mark has defied this board and refused to comply with community standards. I walked toward that chair, not with my head down, but carrying a heavy binder. I didn't sit. I slapped the binder down on the table, right in front of her. The sound cut through the murmurs. "Before we discuss my defiance," I started, my voice dangerously calm, "let's review your own." I opened the binder. Let's start with due process. Page 12, Section B. It states, and I quote, "All residents are entitled to a 30-day cure period and the right to a formal hearing." I held up her violation notice. "You gave me 24 hours. I requested a hearing. You ignored it. So I asked the board, which rule is more important? The one you swore to uphold, or the one your president just made up?" Brenda's face went crimson. "This isn't about the rules. This is about a troublemaker who thinks he's above us," she shrieked. But it was too late. Her spell was broken. "A troublemaker," a woman yelled from the back. "You find my family because our son's basketball hoop was visible from the street." A man shot to his feet. She threatened me with a lien because my trash can was out an hour too early. Suddenly, the room exploded. A dozen voices at once, all shouting, all directed at Brenda. It wasn't my fight anymore. It was everyone's. I raised a hand, and slowly, the chaos subsided. They wanted to hear the rest. My voice dropped, low and serious. "It gets worse." I laid out the facts. The late-night visits, the figure pacing on the sidewalk, the pictures she took of my home. This goes beyond HOA rules. This is harassment. And when an HOA president begins stalking a resident at their home, you force them to take action. I paused, letting the weight of that word, stalking, hang in the air. I looked past Brenda, making eye contact with every single board member. Her face had crumbled into a mask of pure panic. So I filed a formal complaint. An official police investigation into the actions of your HOA president is now pending. Absolute silence. The air was sucked out of the room. Every eye was locked on Brenda. Her entire kingdom was teetering on the edge of a cliff, held up only by the one question hanging in the dead air. What happens now? That was the cliff. The board was frozen, staring at Brenda, then at me, then back at Brenda. The vice president, a man who had been silent all night, slowly pushed his chair back. He didn't even look at Brenda as he spoke, his voice clear in the dead quiet. I moved to immediately dismiss all fines and proceedings against this homeowner. The vote was a deafening, unanimous roar. He wasn't finished. I also moved for a full and immediate review of our holiday decoration policy, to ensure it is fair and inclusive for all holidays. Another unanimous sigh. In less than a minute, Brenda's entire crusade was publicly dismantled. She sat there, speechless and utterly defeated. As the meeting broke apart, another neighbor was already circulating a petition, gathering signatures for an emergency vote to have her recalled from the board. We went home without another word. The Thanksgiving wreath on our door seemed to shine a little brighter. A few weeks later, the epilogue wrote itself. The HOA sent a formal apology to the entire community for the overzealous enforcement of its rules. And Brenda, facing an active police complaint and a recall she couldn't possibly survive, quietly resigned. Our first holiday in our forever home began with a power trip, but it ended with us finding a true community. We learned that bullies, whether on a battlefield or in an HOA, only have the power you give them. Their biggest fear is someone who knows the rules better than they do and isn't afraid to use them. As we sat down for Thanksgiving dinner, we were thankful for our new home, our new neighbors, and for the simple, powerful truth that no one can take your peace away from you unless you let them. What Brenda did was an abuse of power, plain and simple. Have you ever had to deal with someone who twists the rules to bully others? Let me know your story in the comments. And if you believe that knowledge is power and that standing up for what's right is always worth it, hit that subscribe button and join our community. You never know when you'll need to fight your own battle.